Here's my overdose story. The year was 1999. I was sitting in my real estate office and I got a call from a friend, and he said my younger brother had just been sent to the ER from an overdose. I grabbed my keys and I flew out the door as fast as I could. When I arrived at the emergency room, I see my brother dressed in a hospital gown, sitting up and alert. But before I could ask my first question, he said, "Give me your phone." I was a bit taken back and I said, "Did you really overdose?" He said, "Yep, now give me your phone." I protested and I said I wasn't giving up my phone, that we needed to have a serious talk. And about that time, he flew out of his bed and he started fighting me. It was crazy. He was also a black belt in 2 different martial arts disciplines, and it wasn't the first time that I'd had my butt whipped, so I wasn't about to wait around for another one. So I took off running down the hallway, screaming for security, thinking that would end it. Nope. My brother stayed right on my trail with his gown flowing and his butt hanging out until he finally caught me. And at this point, we were in a construction area, large sheets of plastic hanging from the ceiling to the wall everywhere, the smell of fresh paint. He got a few good swings in until finally the cops showed up and they pulled us apart. And I explained what happened, and then I got the heck out of there. A week later, my mom tells me that Justin went to rehab. And I was really relieved and I was excited for him. 30 days went by and I had no contact with him. My plan was to give him this time to work on himself and wait for him to call me when he got out of rehab. Well, when I learned that he was out of rehab, I anxiously awaited this call from him. We'd been best friends our whole lives. I wasn't used to going weeks without talking to my little baby bro. Well, 2 weeks went by and I finally got a call, but it wasn't the one I was expecting. It was a Sunday about 5 p.m. I'd spent the whole day shopping with my daughter and my fiance. And as I pulled up to my baby mama's house, I see my daughter's mom and grandmother come out of the house very quickly. And the grandmother grabbed my daughter and she put her in a car and they drove away. And I looked at my ex and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, your mom's trying to reach you. You need to come inside and call her." And I said, "Well, okay, but I'll call her when I get home." And she said, "No, you need to call her right now inside." Now I was starting to freak out. Plus, I had Tina in the car, who was my fiancée at the time, and now my wife of 27 years. And I'm wondering, what's she going to think? But I was convinced. I go inside and I call my mom, and she says, "We lost him. Justin is gone." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll just go look for him." And my mom says, "No, Justin has passed away from a drug overdose." Now, I'll spare you the hysterics that ensued after that, but none of us could understand how this could happen. He had just finished a treatment program. They discharged him. They said he was better. This is why we created Justin's Lighthouse, to actually make a difference. Not to send people home after their insurance runs out, but to actually give people what they need. And also to help families never have to go through what our family went through 28 years ago. Recovery does work, but you have to have the right system. Comment understand if you have an overdose story or this sounds like something you're familiar with. Thank you guys for watching our videos.